Hello, my people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Okay, alright, are you ready?
Thank you so much for being on here. I'm so glad we're doing this. Today, I'm talking about something that if you do not know beforehand, before getting into the process, it can be very annoying and it can give you quite some stress, just a bit of high blood pressure. Yeah, so this is basically how I got into the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana.
What?
And a lot of people know it as Notre Dame, and some of us we know it as Notre Dame, some Notre Dame. But it is in the US, and I come from Kenya and Sudan, but I studied in South Africa. And then after that, I came to the US. So I have hopped onto many wagons. In my opinion, I think I'm a very unconventional student. And therefore, if you're watching this and I got in here and you're considering doing this, or you're thinking about maybe a process like this for your children, or for your auntie, or for your uncle, or for your cousin, trust me, outliers get into, but it means there's something I must have done that fundamentally works. Today, I'm going to tell you a bit about the process, because the ghetto-ness that you don't find out about until it's time. Before we do it, if you haven't already done so, you can subscribe like that. Yeah, thanks. Let's do it. So let me give you a bit of background. I have been to 3,000 million, billion, trillion schools. I've just been to 15 actually, but I've been to a crap ton of schools. And my last official high school thingy was when I was about 16, 17, I decided to do homeschool. I self-studied. I used online resources to study the IGCSE curriculum. And from there, I was able to take my national exams at the British Council. From there, I ended up getting into a school known as the African Leadership Academy in South Africa. And then after that is when I ended up getting into ND. But I followed certain steps, which I think, despite my unconventional background, they worked. And I'm going to tell you a few of them. So the first thing I would recommend, especially if you're from Africa or Asia or places where you're not really as exposed to the US in terms of background, like if you're from Europe, I think it's easier to get in, or if you're from South America, it's easier to get in. I just think because of proximity. But when you're just far like us in Asia or Africa, I think it's good to use a bridge program, such as a preparatory program. So for me, ALA, I consider it as a pre-uni because I was heavily seasoned by the time I got into ALA. And when I say that, it's because between me doing my homeschool and clearing my exams to me getting into ALA, I took a couple of gap years in between to explore, to voyage the earth. I got a tattoo. I fell in love. Many things happened in that time, but I think it was really helpful. And even if I was very supremely old for college by the time, I still felt that it was important to have a bridge program. I didn't know I wanted to go study in the US. I was genuinely just going for the leadership and entrepreneurship curriculum. But I realized that it actually came through. It was very important because of a couple of things. So an example of such programs includes UWC, which is the United World Colleges. Let me do a Google search real quick. Yes, it's the United World Colleges, which is a global movement that makes education a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. Well, okay, amen. Programs like that, the African Leadership Academy, these are things that have this curriculum, but the alumni are known to go and study in the US. So UWC, ALA, there's also, if you're Rwandan, there's Bridge to Rwanda. And that's very, very important because you're able to have quite literally a bridge to an international sphere, to an international scope of options. That was really helpful. I didn't know getting in that it would help me in that way, but knowing that, for my babies or for anyone, I would suggest trying to get into this. I would suggest trying to find a community or a fellowship program or a program in general that can be able to help you have access to these opportunities due to the network, due to the counseling you receive, and sometimes even just sometimes genuinely like a funnel into these places, I think go for it. Yes, the other reason which I really liked about this thing is it helps you also understand whether you really, really want to go study in the location which you want to. Because when you're presented with multiple options, then you can now pick even better. You can make a more informed decision. For me, I wanted to go study back in Kenya. I wanted to study even maybe in Mauritius at the African Leadership University. But then, having considered some more options just due to the exposure, I changed my mind. And as we all know, changing your mind is healthy. And it's good, especially if it's an informed decision due to more exposure. Another reason I liked this is because of SAT prep. Now, taking your SATs is important before going to the US, and we'll go more into that. So stick around if you want to know more. But it really helped me with trying to understand, sort of the process, because you're able to use like your whole peer group to be able to analyze if you're doing things correctly. So that was really helpful. Now let's go into the main chunk. What did I do to prepare myself? Number one is I did my SATs and I applied through my school. I paid for them. I think they costed about $80. It cost a bit, but it was very worth it. When I paid for my SATs, the way I prepared, now here is the most important part. The way I prepared was by using Khan Academy. Khan Academy is very, very, very important as a resource. I used Khan Academy when I was homeschooling because I told you I was using the British curriculum, and when studying for my GCSEs, everything was basically on Khan Academy. Khan Academy has a specific SAT preparatory course. So what I would do is I used to go and just study and use their prep quizzes, which were very accurate to my SAT. And so there's that. I took my SATs. Out of 1600, I got among like 1300 something, and I think it was a good score. But I genuinely think that me doing my prep with the Khan Academy and all that, Timam, man, it was good. SAT prep centers exist. Online SAT prep exists. I don't think you should use an SAT prep center if online exists. The only thing I think you need SAT prep or whatever for is if you have like if you need guidance on the process and everything, I think you should. But with Khan Academy and the internet at large, I think you should be fine. But if you need a tutor and everything, I think you should check if you can be able to find tutors. But I genuinely suggest the internets are just there for you. Another thing that I really, really liked about these preparatory programs is I received free and quality college counseling. And so I'm sure there's many companies that offer that, or I'm sure the internet, YouTube, and all this offer that on how to apply for financial aid, how to do your that one, how to get your visa, which I can do a video on that. If you'd like me to do a video on that, please let me know. But there was FAFSA and all that, and even how to pick the specific colleges you want to. I'll tell you more about the college process as well, just picking the school I wanted to go to. My application was reviewed, everything was checked, and I really liked it. But if in case you're not able to afford these services, or if you don't have access to them, and maybe you're in a time crunch, I don't know your situation, I would just try and seek feedback as much as I can from people you trust, people who you know are academics. Or if you're a first generation student like me, you can ask your fellow peers, or someone who's your upperclassman, like someone who you went to school with or something, someone who can be able to give you an academic type of feedback over your grammar. They can just be able to give you more relevant feedback. So yes, Khan Academy and preparatory programs. But if you can't, honestly, the internet is your best friend, right? Because that's even how we are here. We've connected through that. So let's go into the actual application. Now, my application requirements: to know the school, essays. I needed to have a few essays, and there's this main essay called a personal statement, which I also had to write. On top of that, I had to fill in certain financial aid documents, such as my FAFSA. I'll put the word here. I don't know how to pronounce it. I can't even remember it. I had to fill in that. I had to do visa stuff and all that. So let me talk about the school selection. I feel like this is the best approach I ever took because it ended up really paying off. And so that's what I'm about to tell you. Now, in searching for the school, I used a scholarship-based school search rather than a school-based scholarship search. What I mean by that is, number one, I didn't look for specific types of schools. First of all, I understood what it is I wanted to study, which was architecture at the time. Now I'm political science and econ. Let's a moment of silence for that version of me. But at the time, I wanted to study architecture, and I knew I wanted to do it either in the US or the UK or in Kenya. And from there, I knew what I wanted to study, and I had my SAT score, I had my activities and clubs that I had been doing throughout high school. From there, I asked myself, genuinely, what do I think I can get into? What type of programs do I think I can get into? Now, I knew I valued myself as someone who's trying to be a good leader and someone who's trying to be a leader at service. And that special balance and, looking at leadership through service and through social impact-based, type of lenses. In looking at that, I looked for scholarship opportunities that can be able to fund my entire education, but at the same time, align with my values. Because I didn't just want to do something academic, because now you'll hold me to an academic standard, but I want to also be held accountable to just me. So what I ended up doing is, at the time I was in ALA and I looked at the scholarships that the school was exposed to, and when they told us about it, I really researched the options that they gave us, and so I settled on the scholarship. And then from there, honestly, that's how I found ND. I looked for the specific scholarship I liked and the one that I thought I could get into, and then from there, that's how I ended up in South Bend, Indiana. That's actually how I ended up here. So, needless to say, obviously, go to a school you like. But I think from my background, I didn't even know a lot about schools at the time. What I needed to know about is whether I can afford the level and the amounts that they require you to pay here. I don't come from a family that could afford it at the time. I had to do what I had to do. So school was not a priority. So what is your priority? I'm sorry, what? Your priority is money, or your priority is a school. Okay, whatever it is, it's up to you. But I knew my priority is to be able to afford the program, number one, and then from there to study what I liked. So, number two, in terms of my application, I understood that the types of schools I was trying to apply to, let's say like with the scholarship, I knew it was ND that essentially I was trying to get into. From there, I made sure that I wasn't too strict on myself with my major. And the major is the degree or the subject which you're going to learn. And at that time, it was architecture. How I chose architecture, low-key, there was like another side to it, where of course it was something I liked, but I also chose it because I knew I could get into the program. I knew I qualified. And self-awareness is very key. You need to know what school are you reaching for, what school are you normal for, and what school is so safe for you if you feel like in student terms, you're overqualified. So for me, I just picked a school that's my match, and I picked a major that's my match, and that major was architecture. So if I know I don't have the grades for civil engineering, I'm not going to apply to civil engineering. And how I also approached the situation, which is some advice I had received, is pick something you can do and that you can be competitive at, and then if you genuinely want something else, go and change there. For now, it's about securing a plan. Like, it's about securing that goal that will help you be more safe in your future. And so don't get wrapped up in the details. I know the detail is your major, but you can change that later. For now, it's how competitive your application is and how much you're able to give yourself a competitive advantage. And so that's basically what I did. I also picked to highlight on my application relevant hobbies and activities. I knew I wanted to do architecture, and I worked in a student enterprise at ALA that dealt with creativity. So I linked that one. I knew I was applying to a scholarship that needs leadership qualities to be demonstrated. and I served in the student government, so I also put that. So there are different things I had done which I didn't put in my application, and from there I just made sure that it's relevant and that it was described in the best way possible, so that I'm not undercutting my own potential. Yeah. One thing I also did is, instead of struggling to know how to describe these activities and hobbies and interests, I just Googled how best to describe them. And then relative to my role, I compared, okay, does this fully express what I did? If not, I'll add what I did in there. But I used that as a rubric because I was making so many big decisions at the time. I couldn't get wrapped up in the details. And so long as it was authentic and it was true, I wasn't trying to get wrapped up in details. And I think that helped me manage the stress that can come from applying to a whole university, especially if you're trying to get yourself some financial aid. So there was that, and some scholarships that we were exposed to at ALA, which I think you should also be able to, which I would invite you to research on. There's a Hesburgh Youth School Scholarship, there's a Robertson Scholarship, there's a MasterCard Foundation Scholars Program. There's also a website which a lot of ALA kids used to look at when looking for scholarships, which is known as opportunitiesforafricans.com or .org, one of the two. I'll put it here. And in looking at that, it was very, very, very helpful. Apart from that, what I did was, obviously, if you find a school that matches your interests, what you do is you just check the financial aid options they have. But don't just check whether they give financial aid. Check if they have any scholars program. Because financial aid is from the school, but scholars program is oftentimes like a program created specifically to just give money out. And I actually have both financial aid and scholarship aid. So I think I would invite you, I would suggest you check both, just to double check that the school doesn't have a scholarship program before now going to check in with financial aid. Or better yet, do both. Yeah. For my essays, it was very hard because they'd ask me a question such as, what is the best quality about you? Or why do you want to attend this university? And you can obviously write, I want to attend it because I need to get this degree. No, the best applicants are not writing that. Those people are pouring their entire hearts out. You've seen the viral trend for how people are trying to write sob stories trying to get into these programs. You go and be vulnerable, put everything out. No, not everything. Write to your deepest and best ability, but at the same time, try to be authentic, because some of these programs interview you and you just need to make sure that you're consistent. Know what I'm saying? So there's that. And I think essay writing for me, the thing that helped me was vulnerability, creativity, and feedback. I got so much feedback from people who knew me and people whose writing I trusted. If you know someone knows you but their writing is it's a bit on the emoji side, maybe not, Yeah, so just pick someone who does not maybe need autocorrect. I know it's brutal, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, so then I applied into the scholarship, and after the scholarship, I did 3 billion interviews, which were very stressful, which I can also talk about. I tried my best, and the thing I did for those interviews is I genuinely put myself in a position where, if you have not watched the video I did of how I got into the African Leadership Academy, please be sure to check it out so that you can be able to understand the process for getting into there and how it led to me getting into where I am right now. And so when I was getting into ALA, the thing that I needed, which I feel sometimes you need the things you feel like you lack the most. The thing I needed at the time when I was trying to get into ALA was to be confident, because there are so many people who are good on paper, but if you're not going to be authentic and just be with your own truth, come on. And this statistics say that maybe 5 out of 10 get in. Fine, that's 50%. But there's always that 1-2 people who are outliers. And so if you don't think you're going to get in, just then tell yourself you're an outlier. Just tell yourself you'll get in. Whatever will give you confidence, do that thing. So, interviews, the thing that helped me the most was confidence and research. I found out as much as I could about every single school I was applying to, and I found out as much as I could about ND. Notre Dame has a beautiful community. It's very, very passionate about leadership and values. It's a value-based school. It's actually the only school that started out religious and stayed religious. And even though I'm not a religious person, I really like the fact that this school is very value-based. And so I think there's a lot of integrity in that, and it's one of my values. And so from there, I ended up applying, and I mentioned that in my application. So there's that. I think it's very important to be able to understand you're not just applying into a certain program, you're applying into a certain environment. So you need to learn as much about it as possible. And for me, ND is very big on football culture, which I didn't even fully understand. But I knew that the idea of having football and this sport that is very well celebrated will breed a lot of community, and I just like that. And so that really helped. But aside from that, I think any other things such as my visa, and I think I need to do a separate video on visa because it's a very lengthy process and it's very intricate and it depends country to country and things like that. So please let me know what questions you have so that I can be able to do videos on that. And in the meantime, if you're already studying in the US, or if you want to connect more with stories of people from, Africa and the diaspora specifically, please feel free to check out my podcast known as the Afroverse, where I share African stories. You can see my contraption here. It's where I share stories about people from Africa and the diaspora. And it's where I also just share my own cultural and social insights. And it's where I offer commentary. So please be sure to check it out. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here, okay? Let me know if you have any more questions, okay? Thank you. And until next time, bye-bye.
Hi, Aki, welcome to this corner of the internet. I'm so happy that you're here. A brief introduction. My name is Hajir. I come from Kenya and Sudan, and right now I'm in school. And usually on Instagram, if you followed for a while, you know exactly what I do on here. Someone here said ND in the house. My husband went to ND. Oh my God. Go Irish. Peril. Power. Have you guys seen the video? Go Peril. People used to say that this painting here, when I used to do lives on here, people used to say that this painting looks like a duck. Someone asked me why I painted a duck. This is a woman. Love your accent, makes me feel like I'm back in Kenya. Oh, tuko tu hapa pamoja. Someone said Kiswahili zungumza. Sijui Kiswahili. Mimi sijui kuongea Kiswahili. Kiswahili ni ngumu sana na ninafurahia sana kuwa hapa. White girl accent cracks me up. Oh my God, same. And this is a thing I don't like. Honestly, okay, it's disappearing. In Indiana, honestly, it's like when they talk like this and then their voice disappears and then croissant de confionomité. De coupé décalé et BCD. EFG. Why? Z. That's why. Can I speak below? Oh my God, like Obama Kogelo, Wretch. Kisumu. Oh my God, love Kisumu. No. Shiro, we are all here, Jera, we need. Okay, then. For those of you who don't know who those are my people in Kenya. But please just exit the live. Please, I'm busy here. Just talking to please. Sending so much strength to you. You're so strong. You're so strong. Okay, power to the people.